Let's aim the cultural index to a species native to the planet Earth for a change. The species would be the Voth from Star Trek, although good luck telling them that they share a planet of origin with us lowly humans. It has to be said that a lot of the Voth's evolutionary line doesn't make sense with modern theories and specimens, but this is all extrapolation from Janeway, a holodeck computer, and the EMH Doctor, so there's a reason for any discrepancies right there. When in doubt, I'll default to the history presented in Star Trek, so with that disclaimer out of the way, let's look into the early Devonian era and a small creature known as an Eriops. This was one of the last known common ancestors of reptile and mammalian life, leading to such animals as the Cynodonts and Hadrosaurid evolutionary lines. The latter appeared in the late Cretaceous period and after millions of years became a species similar to the Voth that we see today. Eventually they built a society of isolated technological achievements, and they learned of the imminent extinction level event bound for the Earth. How they escaped prehistoric terra firma is a mystery lost to time, but some theories include their own development of spaceflight, faster than light or not, or aid from another species, such as the enigmatic preservers, a near-omnipotent being, or simply a passing species answering a distress call. The genetic makeup of a Voth points to their origins from Earth, with 47 distinct matching DNA markers that match with human DNA, and many more with indigenous life on Earth. However, being reptilian in origin, they have a great number of biological differences. Scales, yellow, green or brown hues, dependent on gender, as well as a crest on the back of their skull, mark the obvious differences. They possess an intense sense of smell that was utilised in the detection of pheromones. Their native tongue consisted of chirping clicks, and their cranial capacity was 22% larger than ours. They also possessed a number of distinct evolutionary traits for defence and food, including an elastic tongue to capture insect life, and a sedative projectile that could be fired from the forearm, through a gap in the clothing. Being ectotherms, like the Xindi reptilian, they rely on outside heat sources to regulate their body temperature. They are often an arrogant species, more on that later, and as such deem endothermic lifeforms, such as mammals, as a lower tier of evolution. Yeah, let's see who lasts longer on a chilly January morning then. Oh, how's not being a mammal working out for you? Oh, you're in a hypothermic coma? I shouldn't gloat. Being ectotherms means that they need to consume much less in the way of food, and they can enter a sort of hibernation state in high-stress situations to preserve their bodily functions. The Voth naming structure consists of two names, the surname being used in much the same way as ours, as an official form of address, following a profession such as Elder, Inquisitor, Doctor. Some Voth surnames include Vir, Tout, Haluk, with first names such as Fora and Frola. As mentioned, the Voth are typically quite arrogant, and this stems from their beliefs. Their society was based on the notion that they are the first inhabitants of a vast region of space in the Delta Quadrant, and therefore the rightful inheritors of all in their domain. This belief is formalised in a series of laws and customs known as the Doctrine, whose rules are absolute and designed to instill every Voth with a sense of worth and entitlement, secure in the knowledge that they are the last in a long line of rightful inhabitants stretching back around 20 million years. That is a long time. Their recorded culture is around 20 million years old, and within that time they have seen many other cultures rise and fall while they have endured, so perhaps they have earned a degree of respect. They reside on a myriad of colony worlds, some with a singular purpose, such as a penal colony, while some include resorts and parks, such as the sulphur springs of Hokath, whose smells were considered pleasant to the Voth. Lovely sulphur. However, they also travel between these worlds on vast city ships, vessels that often dwarfed other ships and were entirely self-sufficient. As the Voth made their way into the Delta Quadrant from Earth some 70,000 light-years away, their reliability and comfort aboard starships is likely a cultural leftover and a mark of their legacy as a nomadic species, at least for some time. Their society is divided into circles of academia, military, industrial and agricultural arms. These circles provide training and initiate new members, teaching a vocation as well as actively contributing to their field. The greater circles of science include smaller specifics such as metallurgical analysis, paleontology, exobiology and even philosophy. A new initiate into a circle trains under the tutelage of a senior member, a professor, a doctor, a supervisor for example, until they are ready to pursue their own projects. The Ministry of Elders presides over Voth society as a whole and makes the decisions that shape doctrine and law throughout Voth space. The fact that they refer to the governing body as Elders, as well as the age of some of its seated members, shows that age brings with it a greater degree of respect and responsibility. This is reflective of the importance placed on the age of their culture, with an emphasis on enduring and the assumption that age equals right. The technological breakthroughs of the Voth are vast and impressive, although one would question the speed at which they innovate. Having an apparent 20 million years of history behind them, one would presume an even greater level of development than we see on screen. Indeed, they consider Federation tech to be obsolete and simple. They demonstrate the ability to download a starship's database in seconds, neutralise a ship's power systems with no effort, including hand phasers. They possess the ability to travel at transwarp speeds. They toy with interphasic cloaking technology and can teleport entire vessels, including all aboard. But to put this into comparison, the United Federation of Planets has come as far as it has in only 370 years, and all of these Voth technologies are simply refinements of existing abilities. So this slow pace can be attributed to their doctrine, their overriding law that carries heavy penalties for breaching. One of the laws stated that transwarp speeds were impossible, until someone violated a doctrine and proved it wrong. Subsequently, doctrine was then revised. Heresy against doctrine carried the punishment of life imprisonment and the termination of a life's work, so few were willing to innovate if it meant contradicting the Ministry of Elders and their Inquisitors. Perhaps this slow pace of development is linked to their very nature as ectotherms. Tradition also walks hand in hand with the gerontocracy of the Voth, with mating families often retaining alliances through traditional pairings. As mentioned, the doctrine governs every aspect of Voth culture, and under its law, species that are not native to the Delta Quadrant have no rights in said space, whereas any species that evolved in what the Voth consider to be their space are treated with basic rights and a degree of respect, providing of course they show adequate deference to the Delta Quadrant's oldest race. This prejudice often leads them to be dismissive of other races, endothermal species in particular, and is so prevalent in their society that they probably don't even realise that their actions are being affected by it. This of course hints at the hadrosaur in the room. Under their own doctrine, if the Voth acknowledge Earth as their true place of origin, then they would be admitting that their species too was not native to the Delta Quadrant, and therefore, under their law, they have no rights. Not to mention that the very founding ideas of legacy, tradition and birthright were being built on a lie, so best not mention the distant origin theory. Being primarily herbivores, but not exclusively, the species, despite its zealous adherence to doctrine, was a relatively peaceful one. Their preferred method of attack was to utilise their advanced cloaking tech to avoid injury, and adaptive dampening fields that could render most energy-based weapons inert, along with shields and power systems. They would then often opt to use non-lethal methods for taking down their targets, though they were not opposed to interrogation and intimidation strategies. Their fluid design motifs were present in their ships and even in the furniture they constructed, including intricate designs that married functionality with aesthetics. For example, buttons engraved in recesses and the use of a gong to signify order. The fact that they had a dedicated circle of philosophy also makes it likely that they possessed institutes for other art forms and more cultural pursuits, such as painting and theatre. Overall, the Voth are a very structured and stable culture, with all the hallmarks of an enduring civilization. Their stability and indomitable status of technology stems from the belief in their guiding doctrine, that has enabled their civilization to last for millions of years, if at times limiting their development as people. As long as one shows the appropriate level of respect and deference that they believe they are entitled to, especially the elders, you would be tolerated in their culture, if not exactly welcomed. Those who have a problem with authority might want to avoid entirely, however, as they enforce their punishments humanely but with zealous devotion. Thanks for watching this video on the Voth, perhaps the oldest race we've indexed so far, and as usual I'll drop 2 examples below of species that we can focus the next video around, and to mix things up a bit, how about a more local option, with the Human Systems Alliance from Mass Effect, or the Guardian cultures themselves from Destiny. Now, this is a bit of an experiment and will focus on how other races view humanity in these examples, as that may provide a more unique view than before. So, thanks for watching, and don't forget to suggest other ideas for the index below. If it's from a series we haven't touched yet, we probably won't be on it for a while, but we do add them to the list. So, thanks again. I've been Rick, and until next time, goodbye.